Good afternoon. I'm Helen Chattel with Cape Media Center, and we're here on location today doing a special presentation at the Cultural Center of Cape Cod. I'm here with the Executive Director, Molly Dillon-Yenor. You have a special art exhibit going on?
We do. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having us and for being in our beautiful space today. We just mounted a new show called Unfinished Democracy: Artistic Reflections, which is what you're seeing around the gallery. And it opened on October 8th, and it actually closes on Election Day.
That's fantastic.
So it'll be here for about a month.
So how many artists contributed?
Yes, so we have 28 artists from 17 states all around the country, and there are 42 pieces in the exhibition. And the pieces range from more traditional oil paintings to fiber art, whether it be quilts or also collage. We even have a piece that is made up of Band-Aids.
That's interesting. I am fascinated about the Band-Aid piece, as I am about this quilt that's standing behind us.
Yes.
Should we talk about the quilt first?
Let's talk about the quilt. It's obviously a very large piece. It takes up one whole side of the gallery, so it's almost 10 foot wide. And the artist is Naomi Spenick. And so it obviously resembles an American flag. And as you get closer, you'll notice that each section of the white portion of the stripes are hand quilted. And these are all the names of the students and children that have been killed in school shootings since Columbine. So you're seeing a replacement of stars here in the top left corner of our flag with automatic weapons. And it's also a two-sided piece. So on the other side, it really goes into the different colloquialisms that are constantly used in our society. And they've been, around since the 1800s. So it's really to bring awareness to the gun violence in our country.
Sure.
A very pressing issue. And I'll actually just bring your attention here to the lower left corner where there's an empty space left and a needle and thread. And that is for the next shooting. So it's a heavy piece in the gallery. But I think, art is a really powerful tool for change. And when you walk into a space like this, obviously that it's around voting, hopefully, right? That is the impetus behind this, is really trying to get people to think about not their right to vote, but their responsibility to vote. It shouldn't really be optional if you want to have a say in your democracy. It only works if we all play the vital role of having a voice and utilizing that voice on Election Day. And so you do see heavy content in the gallery. We've sectioned it into different issues that are important to the artists that responded to the call for art. So you have a whole section around racism and equal rights. We have a section around women's rights and equality of women. And then there's just throughout the galleries, you're also seeing calls to action. We have a piece by Mariana Agresti, and the title is Go Vote, right? And it's a collage piece. And so it really, we want people to feel something when they are in the gallery, but we want people then to take action, right? So the last day that people can register to vote in Massachusetts is October 26th. So we're counting on you. It's not something to mess around with. If you're a citizen of this country, you really have a responsibility. And so that's the reason that we wanted to put this exhibition together.
That's fantastic. And there's so many more reasons to vote. It's not just, deciding who's president, right?
Right.
Or deciding who our senators are, right, who our legislative leaders are. It all builds on each other. And there's ballot questions as well that are Absolutely. Vital to people who live here in Massachusetts. So, and there's local questions on there as well that apply to the people who live and work, yep, even on the Cape Cod. So there's a lot to voting, and it's a lot of responsibility. It is. And you can't make a change if you're not part of the process.
Absolutely. And I think what allows us to put forward this content is museums and art spaces are really trusted organizations, right? They are charged with protecting the past. They're charged with introducing people to new concepts in creative ways. And so we feel that bringing this content to the Cultural Center, when people are coming in, they don't necessarily know what they're coming in to see today, but they may see a story on the wall. They may see a piece of art that resonates with them, and it empowers them to do something and to maybe go talk to a friend that doesn't know if they have a plan to vote, or they know that their neighbor doesn't have a car. It's like, hey, can I take you with me to the polls on election day?
Yeah, I walked around. You showed me a few pieces.
Yes.
There's the piece that made of Band-Aids, and it looks like a bus window.
Yes.
You tell me a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So it's an artist out of Rhode Island, Scott Glacier, and the piece he works, Band-Aids are one of his mediums he works with. And so you'll see a small palette next to the piece, and it's he cuts out these very small, like centimeter by centimeter squares of Band-Aids, and then create out of all the different skin tones, and that's how he creates the dimension and the depth in the piece. And so this particular piece in the gallery is a young woman named Claudette, and she was arrested. She was 15 and arrested on a bus. She was an African-American woman before the desegregation. And so this is a piece that brings attention to that and to racism in general, and breaking down those barriers.
And I mean, you and I grew up in a different era. Can you imagine somebody being arrested at 15 for being in the wrong seat on a bus?
I can't, Helen, but I can't also imagine teachers being arrested for having books that someone has just arbitrarily decided that are inappropriate for a school. And that's happening right now.
Right.
Richard Neal has a piece in the gallery, and it's called Prison Library. And it's a piece, you see these bars that represent the prison, and then there's a stack of books inside. And so it's a very simple way to see, obviously, the censorship that's happening. And so what I couldn't imagine happening before, I can't actually imagine that we're in the place we are right now. And it feels like in a lot of ways we're going backwards.
I remember reading Fahrenheit 451 and thinking, oh, well, that's never going to happen, and now I'm seeing it happen, and it's, there's so many things that I thought took for granted because, my aunt had protested back in the 60s, and I thought, oh, surely these things are here. They're embedded in what we believe in. Yeah. And now, to know that things are changing and, not necessarily for the better. Yeah. And when you made this call out, you did a call for democracy. You weren't saying, oh, give me everything you hate about the U.S. You were looking for
absolutely not. Yeah.
feedback about, democracy.
Absolutely. So we talked to the artist about a couple of different aspects of it. One is the role that art has played in politics over the years, right? So, and you can think of, posters that are iconic, right, that you'll never forget. Those were created by artists, or the different pins that people have worn over the years, or picket signs and picket lines and the signs that people hold in protests, right? So there's a big illustrative and creative force that's happened over the years in politics. And then really just kind of looking at really the youth of our democracy. When you look at the civilization and then you look at the youth of democracy, we have a lot to learn. And democracy works if everybody's playing an informed role in the process. Chuck Stigliano has a piece in the exhibition, and it's a wood relief piece, and it's called Ship of Fools. And it really showcases in the piece that if you're disengaged or you're uninterested, or you are being misguided by information, then democracy is not going to work, right? And so it's like, how are we getting people information that they can trust and they understand the sources that it's coming from? There's another piece in the Boardroom Gallery, and it's a collage piece by G.E. Voigt. And it's a really interesting, it's a diptych, so there's two separate pieces. And you have one side of the media on one side, and you have one side of the media on the other. And it's all the issues that you would hear on a Fox News or an MSNBC. And the impact that has on people. And if you're only listening to one side, you're not ever going to see the full picture. And that's so controlled nowadays, right? Like people don't even know that they're only getting one side half the time. And if they're not getting their news from a traditional media source and they're getting it from a blog or a social media TikTok influencer, it even becomes harder to fact check that information.
Absolutely. I studied journalism. So, we didn't have Fox News when I was in college. I mean, it was just starting, right? And MSNBC didn't exist at all. So it's interesting to see where, journalism has gone, because it's really entertainment, right? People are really attached to these personas who are on television, who are getting paid, and the advertisers pay for those spaces. And, people talk to me about running public access, and we don't do advertising. So we're not influenced by, corporations here on the Cape that, might be doing things by polluting water. Mm-hmm. So, we can cover those kind of stories and we can do those kind of things. But I think it's important to realize, like, that a lot of our news is
opinion,
and it's also infomercials disguised as news. Yeah. And you see it in newspapers too. Yeah. They're sponsored. I'm getting off track, but it's sponsored.
Right. Yeah.
Sponsored
advertorials, they call them.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. So it's great to see artists and how they've portraying that in the democracy exhibit that you have. I was really taken by that wooden piece of Ship of Fools. Yeah. And then there was the other piece that was the pastel.
Oh, the pastel piece by Janet Schwartz. First of all, it's a beautifully executed piece. And I don't think people would necessarily expect pastel as a medium in an exhibition like this. It is absolutely gorgeous. And it was a protest after George Floyd's murder. And so it's in front of the Capitol. And so you see that it's a protest that's happening, but it's immaculately executed. The mark making in the piece, and it's the only pastel in the exhibition, and it's unbelievable.
Looking at it, I felt like I was really there. Like it was a part of just history and an experience, and it was well captured. It's just everything actually. It's so vibrant and so truthful.
Absolutely,
is what I found.
Yeah. And it's been interesting. So we've been open for a couple of days. So people have started to come in and visit the exhibition. And, it's really important for people to know that this is not a partisan exhibition, right? The call for art was about the process of democracy, about the issues that people found important. So you're going to see sections of the exhibition kind of dedicated to different issues. But then you just have this thread, and the thread and the call to action is, what are you doing on November 5th? Right? Or are you voting early? We're actually having a closing exhibition reception. We normally have an opening reception, but because we're closing it on election night, we thought it would be a good social experiment, possibly the worst decision I've ever made as an executive director, but to have a closing reception on election night. So we invite everyone who's been part of the process. You will have to, of course, it's the honor system, but prove that you voted.
Right.
And we're going to have just a great dialogue that evening. We're going to be able to spend some time with the artists and really understand a lot more of the story that went behind the different pieces. Of course, there will be food and beverages and all of that good stuff. It'll start at 7, which is a little bit later than our typical reception, but we want to get closer to when the polls close. And we'll have a big panel.
So are you figuring on staying until like 1 a.m., 2 a.m.?
We'll see.
Has the town of Yarmouth approved that?
We'll stay until people feel like they are satisfied and like to go home.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I hope you can come.
I'm going to vote, so I'll be here.
Nice.
I'll definitely come.
Nice.
But this is great. Any other pieces you want to mention before we have coffee?
There are a couple of really great, there's a ceramic piece in the front blue gallery here by Penny Sherman. And it's really interesting. It looks like a a white wife beater type T-shirt, and it has all of these writings and slogans around women's rights and really equality. And she used the wife beater because oftentimes that has been kind of this iconic shirt that a lot of people, men primarily, have worn if they, as they've been abusive to women. And so there's the iconography there of the wife beater itself, and then all of these really powerful sayings along the front of it. And it's a beautiful piece. And Penny's work it's incredible. So I can't wait for people to come in. There's something iconic in every single gallery. It takes up the entire historic section of our campus. So we just invite people to come. We're open Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday we're open from 10 to 3. And again, closing night is on election night, starting at 7 p.m.
I think we have some cooler evenings, so it's a good way to come and spend your time strolling around, especially on Saturdays,
And we have concerts in the Great Hall each weekend, so you can come, take in a concert, and of course during the intermission and before and after the concert, people can look at the work as well. So
I have been here for your concerts, and they're fantastic. So and it's amazing how much space you have. So
thank you.
It is great.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come over today. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us. We welcome coming over and seeing what you have. Can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Perfect.
So,
Lots of things in the works.
and so I think we should end this by telling everybody they should get out there and vote if they haven't registered already. And there's websites you can visit to find out where your precinct is. If you go to your town website, or if you go to mass.gov, I believe there's a website also that'll tell you if you're registered and where you're registered, and tell you what precinct you're at. So I think that's a vital piece of information to have.
And get your kids involved in the process too. They have to be 18 by election day, but they can register to vote before they're 18, which a lot of people don't realize. So that's important too. It's like passing that on from generation to generation is vital. So October 26th is the last day to register to vote in Massachusetts. So get out there and vote.
Absolutely. And that's going to conclude our special presentation today. Thank you, and hope to see you soon.
Thanks so much, Helen.
Thanks.